I'm Kanchan Satpathy, and I'm really glad to host this session for you all. I'll introduce myself in very brief that I'm an architect and also the founder of Reciprocity, which is a forum for entrepreneurs. And I'm very passionate about this particular venture of mine, which is Reciprocity, the first one being a design and construction company. At Reciprocity, it is a forum committed to empowering entrepreneurship within the realms of learn, lean, and grow. And Reciprocity Alchemy is one such learning or outreach initiative that we do. And alchemy, as the name suggests, is the process of transformation, a transformation or creation of new ideas and thoughts. And it is our endeavor to consistently provide an enriching experience to our audience. And this experience, we believe, will add enriching value in creating alchemy. So, ladies and gentlemen, the top topic for today's alchemy is mental health greater pandemic. While many view entrepreneurship as a dream career full of excitement, it truly actually is a rocky, really rocky road. And according to this study that I was reading up by Michael Freeman, entrepreneurs are 50% more likely to report having a mental health condition. And yet we all still struggle to talk about it. There is a famous quote that we all know, and I've used it so many times, that it's lonely at the top. But it's not just lonely at the top, it's lonely on the way there too. And even worse, right back down at the bottom. And these COVID times have shown us a lot of that. It with the mix of quarantines, lockdowns, curfews, and so many digital accesses and Zoom meetings, this already large problem has just gotten bigger. And as someone who's building a community of entrepreneurs, and I've been hosting a series of discussions along with the challenges of running a startup, I've had the good fortune to know that I'm not alone in this. And I hope that this sentiment is shared with all those who've been with me too through this journey. And hence the ability to build compassionate connections in real life, I feel has now become tougher. And I'm already feeling the impact of that, and so are most of us, which is why we've decided to have this as our topic for alchemy. So, to discuss and give perspectives and expert opinion, we have amongst us a distinguished panel of psychologists and practitioners of mindfulness and well being to guide us through this greater pandemic than the COVID 19. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce our experienced panelists today Dr. Neera Gupta, who's a coach and chief nurturing officer at Nurture Global. Dr. Roma Kumar, she's a senior psychologist at Sir Gangaram Hospital. Dr. Bhavna Chadda, she's a neuroclinical psychologist and founder and CEO of Adhyapan, the Skills Hub. This session of Alchemy today will be co-hosted and moderated by two of my dynamic, versatile, and very well-informed colleagues, Astha Aluwalia, who's a senior psychologist and partner at Reboot Wellness, along with the young and vivacious Aditya Singh, the CEO of Expedify. So over to you, Aditya and Astha. Please introduce yourself and also guide us through this journey of today's Alchemy session. Over to you, Aditya, first.
Excellent. So good morning, everyone. And I thank Reciprocity Alchemy for having meaningful conversations relevant to entrepreneurship every month. And I'm Aditya. I'm the member of Reciprocity and the moderator of this meeting today. I run Expedify.io with the purpose to expedite digital experiences for brands and their consumers. Now, it is a pleasure today to host this panel discussion on the topic of mental health. Now, let me start by telling our audience that I'm no expert at mental health. I'm an entrepreneur that identifies with the importance of this discussion today. At Reciprocity, our purpose is to empower entrepreneurship. So for today's panel discussion, we are going to try to keep the discussion towards mental health from the lens of an entrepreneur. I also acknowledge the fact that, that at the end of the day, we are all humans, right? So it's going to be hard to endeavor to bring the perspective of entrepreneurship in a holistic conversation. Still, as a moderator, I would humbly interrupt our esteemed panelists in between to steer the conversation in the realm of mental health with the lens of an entrepreneur. Sharing my few cents on the topic to kick off the discussion. Now, I feel entrepreneurship brings in a mixed bag of order and chaos, of highs and lows, of failures and wins. I feel it's not different from life. Life is meant to throw challenges at us. Do we have the tools to navigate through this journey? I feel it all starts from birth, our conditioning, our primal desires, our codified fears, and our need to be loved and accepted. Entrepreneurs carry a huge burden on their shoulders. Money, salaries, morality, purpose, family, team, leadership. Entre- and sometimes entrepreneurs don't live for themselves, but for a bigger purpose or a vision. Now, this can take a huge toll on their mental health. Also, this can create ripples in their ecosystem, their families, friends, employees, and the so called work life balance. Now, to set the precedence, I will start with sharing some of my own vulnerabilities. Now, I love drinking beer. Does that make me an alcoholic? Sometimes I feel hard to get off the bed and win the day. How do I fire non performing people humanely? I love playing video games at night, still, I feel guilty about wasting time. Is morality even important in entrepreneurship? Aren't we just supposed to make profit? Am I even mentally healthy? How do I know if I am? How can I measure it? How are people in my organization feeling? Do I push them or should I restrain from that? How do I even find out if I have a problem? Now, these are certain thoughts and questions that come to my mind. The purpose of a company in a capitalistic society that exists today is to create profit. End of story. I feel this is a huge baggage for entrepreneurs to carry, to be accountable, to create profit at all costs to their investors, stakeholders, and employees. Now, still, regardless of the financial health, I distract myself time and again with beer and video games. I don't even know if that's okay. The outcome I'm looking from this conversation today is to learn more about mental health from our esteemed panelists. But before that, I invite my co-moderator for this meeting, Astha, to introduce herself and share her opening thoughts. Astha, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Aditya. It was so nice to hear, that our conversation started with you talking about the real concerns and the real thoughts that you have, which make up what mental health is. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. And it makes me really happy to be a part of such a wonderful discussion, to moderate it and to engage with a wonderful panel. I look forward to hearing everything that you have to say. I've been following Dr. Roma Kumar since I was a student at college. And I don't know, ma'am, if you remember, but I interned with you in the year 2006,
I
which
do.
was, yeah, which was many, many years ago. And I look forward to hearing more from you. Um, what makes me really happy about this conversation is that we're finally moving away from the very academic discussions that we've had about mental health and human behavior, and translating all of that into real life conversations. So I keep saying that what the pandemic has done for us in the last 10 months, we probably wouldn't have been able to do in 10 years. It's normalized and actually brought to table what mental health is and how important it is to talk about it, whether we view it from an entrepreneurial lens. And some of the things that Aditya, you said are so important, and some of these are very relevant questions. So my name is Astha Aluwalia. I am a psychologist by profession. I'm a counseling psychologist and therapist, and I run a mental wellness organization called Reboot Wellness. We are an ecosystem that work towards mental well-being and addressing mental health concerns and lifestyle concerns. I strongly believe and advocate inclusivity and accessibility for mental health. And today's discussion is my vision for mental health for all. Because if a group of entrepreneurs are coming together and talking about what mental health is, then I think the biggest challenge that we mental health professionals have, which is the lack of awareness, gets addressed. So in this discussion, in such discussions, I usually start by talking numbers, by sharing facts, but I think we have three amazing panelists who will do that for me. But this is my personal agenda today, to create a space for candid, real conversation about the mind and about the behavior, to hear what our panelists have to say and tell us about the importance of mental health within an entrepreneurial realm, of course. And what are the things that we as entrepreneurs need to look out for? Some of the basic tools that we can inculcate for having a good work-life balance. So that's my two bits on the topic today. And I am extremely excited to be here. And I look forward to, having the conversation flowing.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that, Astha. Now, I'm just going to lay out how the meeting structure is going to be. And it'll all start with a round of introductions of the panelists, followed by opening thoughts from the panelists. We will allocate 5 minutes to all the panelists to share their opening thoughts. After that, we'll just have a very candid question and answer round. We'll allocate 15 to 20 minutes to that. And towards the end, we would be doing some closing thoughts and takeaways. 5 to 10 minutes for that per panelist. I would also request Sankalp to do a soft interrupt during the 4 to 5 minutes mark when the panelists are speaking, just so that we are in time. And towards the end, we'll just have a round of final remarks from the panelists and before we say goodbye. So with that, Asta, I invite you to please introduce Dr. Neera to the audience.
It would be my pleasure. So, introducing Dr. Neera Gupta. Neera Gupta is a Chief Nurturing Officer at the Nurture Global, a self founded entity that focuses on making others great through executive coaching, servicing, and end client and organization. By education, Neera is a human resource professional and a doctor and holds a doctorate in English, an area of study that provided her with insights to human behavior and social dynamics. She has been an educationist, a corporate professional, someone who has led roles in sales operations, talent development, and general HR, a leadership and a transformation coach, and an entrepreneur who has set up businesses in FMCG, entrepreneur who has also set up businesses in vocational education. Starting off as a curious seeker, she has been a practitioner of mind management and has also led the Art of Living's corporate programs for North India. Mental health is a crying need, Dr. Neera says, in every part of the world today and in each segment of the society. The need to help elevate that in whatever small capacity, whatever small possible, inspires her to contribute to the large social cause of a stress free, violence free society by working with the foundation as a volunteer and facilitator. With a lot of gratitude to have you here, Dr. Neera, we look forward to hearing from you. And I would request you to just, you're on mute, ma'am. And I would request you to just share with us, your opening statement about our discussion today.
Well, I think the opening statement today is likely to question. So I would like to open with a question because when we tend to look at mental health, we tend to contextualize it within a very limited framework, and a lot of times it gets restricted to only looking at certain symptomatic observations in people, which translates to saying maybe I am not mentally well. Is there an issue? Whereas the question I would like to put to all of us who are in this forum today is to really think about whether mental health is really that. When I think of mental health, I feel that's an area that is relevant to each and every individual, and all of us need to be able to not only question but also identify what we're going to do about ensuring that we lead lives which are balanced. And the reason I say that is because mental health cannot only be looked at clinically, it'll also have to be looked at in every dimension where we lead our life, and also how we choose to respond. And I deliberately use the word respond here because a lot of times we see ourselves react. So, how do we choose to respond to the external environment, which is going to be a part and parcel of our everyday living? And how do we choose to respond to our internal environment, which is going to absorb all that which is happening in the external domain? So, to me, I think it's really important for each and every individual to question that and figure out how we are going to look at solving for it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Dr. Neera, for sharing your perspective. And a very, very important point I think that you brought out, that we look at mental health clinically. Is it beyond that? I'm very intrigued. I'm very curious to see where that leads us. Thank you so much, Dr. Neera. Next up, I'm going to introduce Dr. Roma. Now, Dr. Roma is a senior consultant and psychologist at Institute of Child Health, vice chairperson psychology at Institute of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences at Sri Gangaram Hospital, and a senior consultant at Max Hospital, Gurgaon. She's also the founder of Saksham Child and Adolescent Guidance Clinic, the partner and co-founder at Emotionally, which is an online therapy, counseling, and coaching platform created and designed by an experienced team of psychologists, coaches, business, and technology professionals. Excellent. In the field of mental health for over 3 decades. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Roma Kumar with a thundering applause. Dr. Roma, this is your time to share your opening thoughts and your opening statement with the audience.
Thank you so much, Aditya, and thank you so much, Astha, and thank you for remembering me, Astha. It's my proud privilege to be here once again on Reciprocity, and thank you, Kanchan. Thank you, Neera, for starting off very nicely. and with very appropriate words, trying to understand what mental health is all about. But I'd like to say a few more things, and not just mental health. Mental health comprises of so many other things, and what we really do not focus on is the emotional health area. The emotional health, which is the fundamental aspect of fostering resilience, self-awareness, overall contentment. So most of us do not wish to talk about our emotions. We talk about our triggers in our life. Something that has upset. I lost my job. I've had problems in my relationships. My children don't listen to me. The COVID has actually made us sit in the house. So we are talking on these various perspectives, but we don't focus on what does it do to us. Do we really question what does it do to us in our emotional area? So keeping in mind that good emotional health doesn't always mean that you're always happy or free from negative emotions. That's exactly what, Aditya, you were saying, that if you have beer, does it make you an alcoholic? No way. So, and if you play video games in the night for a while, does it make you an addict on that? No way. So, it's how we look at things and how we accept reality, and how happy are we, and am I functional or am I dysfunctional? Am I able to do things the way I wish to do? What are my priorities in my life? So, I would see mental health from that perspective. Um, and noticing my emotions when they actually arise, and what do these emotions do to me. Do you compassionately confront someone, or when you confront someone, when somebody is hurt or angry, what do you do? How do you react to those situations? Do you react? Do you respond? What are your self judgments? And at emotionally, I would just like to say that we do a lot of employee assistance programs where we are trying to train everybody on becoming their own therapists, or even helping people around on understanding what mental health is. And during this COVID time, what has actually come in, that we're talking, WHO is talking, India is talking, doctors are talking, everybody's talking of mental health. But really, are we willing to invest actually in mental health, or we think it's a unnecessary expense? We are not willing to get in there. We're willing to just talk about it but not do really much about it. So when a child says to the parent, I'd like to go and see a psychologist, and the parent would say, why do you need a psychologist? I'm there, talk to me. Now that's the difference. Would you do the same if you have a toothache? Would the parent say, oh, you have a toothache, so why don't you show me? I'll probably take care of you. No, we wouldn't, because we are accepting that as a physical pain. We're not looking at the emotional health of the person. And when this person is going through emotional areas of concern, we don't look at that. We're not curious. We're not understanding what do we do next. And that's why it's important. And why people are not able to deal with so many issues, because they have difficulty with resilience to stress, the grit, the emotional agility. How do we take care of our deeper relationships? Am I equipped with skills to manage my emotions? Is it easier for me to connect to people, show empathy and compassion? What is my self esteem? Do I really consider myself as being having caliber to deal with many issues? Do I have energy? So I would like to focus on the emotional health area along in the area of mental health.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Neera, for sharing your perspective. I mean,
Dr.
there are so many things that you said that.
That was Dr. Roma, not Dr.
Oh,
Roma.
sorry, so sorry, Dr. Roma. There are so many things that you said, Dr. Roma, that really stood out. Emotional agility is something that really resonates with me. Our purpose is expediting things. That's why that truly came out to me. And also, like, I think when you said that companies today are they really investing in emotional health while we are having conversations about it? But that's a deeper question I feel that all of us entrepreneurs should really think about. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective, Dr. Roma. With that, Astha, I invite you to introduce Dr. Bhavna to the forum as well.
It would be my pleasure. Dr. Bhavna Chadha is a doctorate PhD in clinical psychology and behavioral analytics from University of Delhi. A postgraduate certificate in curriculum development, higher education, and blended learning and teaching pedagogy helps her to understand the dynamism of the ever-changing educational requirements at the undergraduate and postgraduate levels. She holds a 23 years plus of diverse work experience as a neuroclinical psychologist, a teacher, a mentor, an administrator, and a consultant at the national and international levels of corporates and academia. She holds subject specialization in clinical psychology, counseling, and consumer behavior. As a certified clinical psychologist, she not only helps clients to identify problems, emotional, mental, and behavioral in their lives, but also as a consultant and trainer, works with large corporates for recruitment training, psychometric evaluation, and leadership coaching. In a past corporate role as a vice president, corporate relations and alliances, she spearheaded verticals like employability, incubation center, corporate alliances, international internships, alumni network, and industry integrated projects. As a founder and CEO of Adhyapan, the Skills Hub, she facilitates a 360-degree approach to recruitment, training, and a vertical on psychological services encompassing psychological testing, counseling services, research, mentoring, and industry internships. Dr. Bhavna, it is a pleasure to have you here. And with this, I would invite you to share your opening statement about our topic today.
Thank you.
Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. And I would like to start by thanking Kanchan and everybody on the team to give me this opportunity to be sharing the panel board with Dr. Roma. She's been a super senior to me, and Dr. Neera. I have all these 23 to 24 years of work experience that I have done. I find myself lucky because I could see both sides of the world. Being a part of the psychology world and looking at mental health in a particular perspective gave me certain kind of a thought process, and also being a part of students, college, school, curriculum, and corporate has given me a very different kind of a consumer perspective to what mental health is. Now, coming from that side and all the input that I've had, how I look at mental health is, as consultants, we normally try and simplify the problem. You know, the entire route of finding a solution is going back to basics. So rather than going up, I would like to go down to basics again. And I am trying to figure out that how is it that people start looking inside. It has to be more like an inward journey. For me, mental health, from where I look at it, is that we are somehow surrounded with so much of a noise outside, and it can be about employability, it can be about career, it can be about money, it can be about relationships, it can be about global citizenship race, it can be about age, it can be about midlife crisis, it can be about so many things, and everything is so much of a noise outside. The problem is that with that noise and the noise inside us, we are not able to hear anything. And that is what puts us onto a blind spot where we really don't know which direction we are going on to. So when I interact with a CEO as a coach who's trying and figuring out what is the best design thinking pedagogy or what is the best design thinking process that I need to have for my organization to move forward, if I sit with a postgraduate student who's figuring out what is the right way to earn quick money and fast money, when I'm sitting with a married woman who's still struggling that what is the right way to maintain a balance between home and my corporate life, what I continuously hear is a lot of chaos inside me and I'm scared to have a journey inside my own self. Most of them are trying and figuring out triggers outside, as very rightly said by Dr. Roma. We are looking at triggers outside and we are completely avoiding a journey inside. So a very simple thing, sitting quiet and doing nothing are two different things, but most of us perceive it as one thing. Being still and not doing anything are two different things. We are looking at not doing anything as one of the prodigies, but then the idea is about being still inside. Again, as I said, from whatever small experience that I've had, I figured out why is it that we talk fast? Why is it that we have to talk loud? Why is it that the expression needs to be rude for us to convey that we don't agree? Thankfully, by God's grace, I've been a part of a lot of big organizations as a board of directors. Uh, I'm just struggling with the idea that why is it important to go to the negative concept of presenting yourself within the crowd. So how I look at mental health is definitely from that perspective that it's more about a journey inside you. Something that gives me the comfort is control. If I know that the stress is not outside and it's somewhere sitting within me to how I perceive it, I'm more happy and I feel I'm more confident because I can control it. If I know that insecurity is not outside, it's within me, it's easier for me to control. If I look at employees when they are struggling in terms of defining what achievement is, when they are struggling to find a balance between cognitive emotional regulation, when I'm looking at students who are figuring out an ideal, fun filled life with them, and on the contrary, I look at the entire anxiety of FOMO, the fear of missing out. When I look at housewives and women and men dealing with a work life balance problem and a life balance wheel situation, I think most of us are trying and figuring out a problem outside and we are trying and finding a solution outside. For some odd reason, I would just like to take a U turn and go inside. I think it's very important for me to sit still and have a conversation with my own self. We are scared to be lonely because we have never learned to be alone. And I very strongly believe in that. We are scared to. Pandemic somewhere has given us a perspective, and I think that is the time that we need to really start thinking that is alone and lonely the same thing? And if as a student, as a teacher, as a mentor, as a coach, as a CEO, if we get our definitions right. I've been an entrepreneur. I'm a business person. I understand corporate. For me, Excel is the only language that I understand. Mental health, yes, definitely is the love of my life. My only thing is that if my benchmarking is right, if my calculus is right, if my procedure is right, my mathematics doesn't say that I'm going to fall onto a bit. So if my journey is in the wrong direction, I'm never going to reach the right destination. So let's just turn inward and start the journey inside rather than looking at the world outside. That's my premise on mental health. Thank you.
Wow, Dr. Bhavna, that was truly, truly amazing. I mean, I really feel I'm kind of flabbergasted by the kind of analogies that you laid out, and we are always seeking answers outside. Whereas you took a U-turn and you brought the conversation towards the inside, where I feel all the answers lie. And this thing that you said, that we are scared to be lonely because we have not learned to be alone. I think it truly, truly peels through me personally, and I'm sure it would have gone through a lot of other people who are listening to us. Now, with that, thank you so much, our esteemed panelists, for sharing your opening thoughts. And what we are going to do now is we are going to have a Q&A kind of a session. And I'm going to invite Dr. Roma uh, right now to answer what is mental health. And I also heard you saying that you're going to talk about emotional health. And maybe if you can touch upon the difference between mental health and emotional health, just so that we can get a sense of it. The floor is all yours, Dr. Roma.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So a lot of us do not understand, like what I said, mental health and emotional health. We really don't understand that part. So mental health comprises the entire area, the physical health, the spiritual health, the emotional health. Those are the areas that work on that. But emotional health is completely only working on your emotional area. Now, when we say that mental health is affected, what really is affected when mental health we talk about? I'm not at peace with myself. I'm getting very anxious. So, for the past 1 year, not that before it wasn't happening, but for the past 1 year, the amount of anxiety I've seen in individuals, the amount of children, adolescents, older age population who have connected with me for anxiety is is amazing. An 82-year-old woman calls me up and she says, I'm very anxious. Now, I felt very happy that an 82-year-old woman actually wants to get that assistance, feeling very lonely and isolated. For what Bhavna also said, feeling very lonely, very isolated. And what was her problem? I'm the only one who has to take care of my husband. There is no family there. My husband is on the bed, but there's nobody who can take care of me. Dr. Roma, can you just talk to me? It'll just make me feel very, very good. And what can I do to see people? I'm unable to see people. So can you imagine an 82-year-old talking like this? So where are we heading when we do not even want to vent out our feelings? When we do not wish to talk about them, we feel scared because I'm probably going to get shamed or I'm going to be judged. Now, these are two areas which we need to get rid of. Stop staring at people who have disabilities, and like what Neera said about inclusion, or I think Asta said about inclusion, I think it's important to include really everybody. What happens when your caretaker in the house, who's taking care of you all the time, comes to you and says, दीदी मैं आज बहुत मेरे को कुछ अंदर हो रहा है, मेरा मन नहीं लग रहा है, आप मेरी मदद कर सकते हो? So at that level, are we actually looking at listening to the person? The area which is very important is we've stopped listening to people. We've become the best talkers. We've started talking about everything and anything, but let's listen to people, what people want to talk about. You know, the grief and the loss which people have gone through in the past, are we willing to talk about it? Because that leads you to a lot of inner turmoil, and that turmoil, nobody is willing to listen to you. Everybody will say, move on, ho gaya, move on. uh, you've lost your husband, I think it's over now, now you need to move on. I don't think we need to talk. There are some questions which we do not need to address and talk about. Some questions are supposed to be not said at all. Just be present to listen to the person. And the other area which is very important is self-care. For some, self-care may be something as basic as getting enough sleep or filling up a bottle of water before heading out to work or catching a cup of coffee. That is self-care. But the concept of self-care sometimes carries a very different definition from person to person. On a fundamental level, what physical care self-care means that you take care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally. And it differs for a lot of people. For me, my self-care would mean I just don't want anybody in the room at that time. Like when I come back from work, in the earlier times when I was practicing face to face a lot, I would come back home and I would make sure nobody talks to me for 10 minutes. And people found it very odd that, is she crazy that she doesn't want to talk to people at home? And then I had to really explain, no, that 10 minutes makes me feel that I'm back home. I'm not carrying a baggage of everybody's problems. That is self-care for me. For me, self-care is sitting outside in the balcony with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea just by myself and doing nothing. Now, self-care can mean so many things, but are we really learning to practice self-care these days? We're talking about it, but we need to actually implement most of the things. The other area of concern is that uh, we say that so and so is not able to complete the task, especially in the corporates, that you give a deadline, or to the school students when you give them a deadline and that person is not able to complete the task. Now, that's an area of task initiation. What happens when you have to initiate a task? Let's understand that. I'm just giving you an example. What do you do when you're not able to complete it? That means the person is actually focusing on the emotion that is inhibiting him to work on that. For example, I'm thinking of मेरे मार्क्स कम आएंगे, तो मैं क्या करूंगा, मेरे सिविल सर्विसेज नहीं हो पाएगा तो मैं आगे क्या करूंगा. I'm not focusing on working right here and now. So being very mindful of those things actually stops us from even taking up the task. I think I'm going to stop here because I'm going to take away all the time talking about it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Roma. Let's listen, let's talk, and let's equip ourselves with the tool to take care of ourselves. I love your story in terms of taking 10 minutes when you come back from work. So thank you so much for sharing that perspective. Now, with that, we are going to have a poll question to the audience. And Kanchan, if you could just share the poll with the audience. And while Kanchan is doing that, I'm going to share the question that we are going to put out to the audience. The question is that, if you're feeling low, would you go to a mental health practitioner? Yes, no, or maybe. So I see 9 people have responded out of 25. I would request all of you, if you're listening to us, please respond to this particular poll. It would give us valuable insights.
Reason why 9 have responded thus far, Aditya, because only 9 are physically there in picture form. Others have just switched off their video.
So 10 seconds more for the poll to finish. Great. So here are our results. So 6 out of 15 people responded with a yes, 4 out of 15 responded with a no, and 5 are somewhere in the middle. Now, this brings, I would like to bring Dr. Neera into the conversation and try to, Dr. Neera, if you could kind of explain, why is it that people have an inhibition towards reaching out to a mental health practitioner? Why do you feel we kind of hold back from seeking help? Is it just fear of judgment, or is there something more primal and deep at play? Or what's your perspective on that, Dr. Neera?
Very good question, Aditya. So, to me, when I think about this, I think there are 2 or 3 different things that are at work here, the way I interpret, understand, assess, reflect. One of them is to do with the fact that a lot of times, even when we are being brought up as children, even when we are growing up to be adults, I don't think there's enough focus on the overall health. And I'm deliberately using the word overall health very beautifully. Both Dr. Bhavna and Dr. Roma have brought out the emotional and the mental side of it. And even though our topic is mental health, I would still look at it as overall health, because to my mind, there are different levels at which we need to be healthy, which is what's going to ensure that we are overall healthy, whether that reflects in our emotional ability to deal with situations, or whether it reflects in our mental ability to deal with situations and challenges that we face. But if I had to think about what's contributing to it, one I think is lack of engagement at a parental level when children are growing up, to really be cognizant of what it takes for a child to inculcate the right habits and the right approach and the right ability to respond. Now, it could be coming from multiple factors. One of the factors contributing to it could be coming from the parents' personal lack of awareness in their own selves. Are we really focusing on everything that's important for a child to grow up as a healthy, balanced adult? Or are we simply focusing on the very superficial aspects which start showing that we and they are successful in the world? And that could mean that focusing on ensuring that we get the right education, are they choosing the right subjects, are they going ahead and qualifying for their careers to be successful? And a lot of times that success can only translate to material wealth. Will they have so much money? Will they have this designation, etc., etc.? So that's one aspect I think which contributes to it. The other aspect to my mind, from whatever I have seen, learned, experienced, also comes from, I think in this current world, we are all so deeply steeped in the material concept of success and how we define it, that we seem to have lost complete sight of what it takes to be successful. Question to ask ourselves is success really only about getting a so-called house that we want to buy, which is going to cost me so much, is going to be in a particular locality, or the car I'm going to drive, or whether I can flaunt to the others that my child is in a particular designation in a particular company earning X amount of salary, or is it something else? And all of us seem to be just chugging along without really pausing to ask ourselves, where is it that I'm going? What really is the purpose of what I want to achieve in life? What is it that I really want? And the most, I think Dr. Roma made a point of it, being able to live in the present moment. When you think about it, where is life really? There is no life in the past, and we don't experience life in the future. We only waste our energies trying to either keep swinging between the past or in the future, worrying about things that have not been, or thinking about what may happen, what may not happen, and we end up ruining our total present by doing all that. So I think that's another very important aspect which is contributing to what is happening in the world today. All of us seem to have got totally caught in the material side of it, and we have started measuring speed, success in terms which are very material and lost the sense of measuring them in what really matters to us. Am I building relationships that will sustain? Am I building for myself a sense of comfort in who I am? Dr. Bhavna very beautifully said, being in stillness, not doing nothing and being inactive, not inertia, but being in stillness. Do I have that capacity to be connected with myself? So that's the other one. And I think the third, which we are all very, very, uh, openly seeing happening around us, is this whole sabotage. I am deliberately using that word, but I think there's this whole sabotage that's happening because of the way technology has crept into our lives. Technology has taken over everything. We're sitting in a room, five people don't have time to talk with each other because we're toggling our screens. We are talking to somebody, we are not listening because we are trying to, in parallel, do something. We like to say we are multitasking, but are we? Because in essence, we are possibly even losing the ability to stay connected with another individual who's in that room. Now, that's one. The other is, how much time are we focusing on really thinking about what it takes to be healthy overall? Are we actually spending time to pause when we are in a conversation, or to pause when we are dealing with a situation on the outside, to figure out what is the best way to resolve it? I don't think we are doing that. And some of those areas have already been touched upon by both Dr. Roma and Dr. Bhavna. But being able to be in sync with my different response levels, whether those response levels are mental, because something could cause me stress, it could be somebody's behavior, it could be a situation I'm dealing with which I hadn't expected, or am I being able to deal with it emotionally because something someone said hurt me, made me feel upset about it, and I did not have the capacity to deal with it? Or is it something which is haunting me from the past? There is also this huge sense of guilt we all seem to be carrying. Have you paused and thought about that? So many times we are conditioned to live life in a certain way that we start judging ourselves all the time. This is the right thing to do, otherwise I'll be perceived so and so. This is the wrong thing to do, otherwise I'll be perceived so and so. And we are constantly seeking external validation. That external validation is killing us. And a lot of times we get so caught in that whole concept of I that we lose sight of what it really means to be natural with ourselves and with people we interact with. So I feel that all these are really, really contributing to everything that's going around us, which is why this overall health concept has become so important. We are spending time doing everything we can to distract ourselves from the reality of what is happening in
Um,
our lives.
I think
Dr.
we've
Neera, I think we lost you. Okay, there's a technical glitch. I believe, I think Dr. Neera will be back in a bit. Asta, I believe you had a question for Dr. Bhavna, which was also around the
yes.
same lines. Yes.
Yes, so I think Dr. Neera very nicely set pace for my next question for you, Dr.
Am I
Bhavna.
audible? Okay. Am I audible?
Yeah, we lost you
Yeah.
for a bit, Dr. Neera. Dr. Neera, if you could just
Yeah, yeah.
share your closing thoughts
I had
on the train of thought that you had. Dr. Neera, we lost you again. So Astha, let's continue with the question
Yeah,
that you had for Dr.
yeah,
Bhavna.
yeah, yeah. So I think what Dr. Neera was saying about, health for everyone. So Dr. Bhavna, my question is for you that the mental health scenario is changing fast, and in the last 10 months have been tough for almost all businesses. And here I would like to focus on an entrepreneurial, venture and business owners who are dealing with, I mean, we're all dealing with mental fatigue. There is a work from home scenario. There is a lot of change in the way we are perceiving our businesses, the way our businesses are doing, the financial stress, etc., etc. So, what, according to you, should be, should an entrepreneur focus on for his or her positive mental health, and for the positive mental health or the positive health of the entire organization?
हाय आस्था, अगर मैं हिंदी में कहूँ, आई एम वेरी फॉन्ड ऑफ हिंदी. आपने मेरे दुख तीरथ पर हाथ रखते, दिस इज वन तार जो बचता है तो झंझनाहट होती है. आई थिंक, और ये झंझनाहट मुझे ही नहीं होती है, आई थिंक एवरी एंटरप्रेन्योर टुडे who's invested money out of the pocket is going through that anxiety that what's going to happen. And last 10 months have not been easy, and we've been looking forward to things becoming better. Now, something that I did, of course, a lot of people can have very different ways of dealing with that. A lot of people I saw getting super anxious, their businesses closing down, getting depressed, getting sad, getting into some real sophisticated mental health problems. I saw people going through utter failure and still striving to live and finding some hope somewhere. Something that I understood across, again, the corporate and the mental health experience that I've had all these years, what I understand that one, whenever as an entrepreneur we enter into a business, there has to be a kind of a buffer that we, a shocker resistant concept that we develop in ourselves. So one, for a lot of entrepreneurs, that has come as a savior, because somewhere we are prepared that there is, if there's going to be up, there's going to be down. So one, I'll say that whatever damage that has not happened because of that particular resilience, of that particular kind of a safe zone that we do create for ourselves to take that kind of shock. Number two, something that I think helped me was that the entire concept of survival is how I associate with design thinking. I don't know you guys will identify with me or not, but I want to bring it here that the way we live our life is a lot to do with the way we design it. And I'm bringing the connotation and the thought process of design thinking in here. Exactly the same way when we become an entrepreneur, we design how we want to take forward what we are trying and doing. Every entrepreneur has got a story. Everybody who's entering into doing their own work has a particular logic to why I want to do it. What is it that I want to derive it? The more sorted the entrepreneur, the more sorted and clear the reason is. The more confused the entrepreneur, the less clarity on the reason why I'm here is. Now, if you can design why you're going to be there, if as entrepreneurs we are able to redesign at the time of crisis that what is now going to be my new code of existence, what is going to be my new benchmarking, what is going to be the detour that I'm going to be taken in because of this kind of a problem within my business, I think that comes as a very heavy survival gear for any entrepreneur. And I'm going to explain it to you like that. As a teacher, as a mentor, and dealing with young people, and I think I very closely worked with employability. At one time, being attached to some national level universities, nationally and internationally, I was dealing with a lot of placements where students were going to the corporates, but then they were not able to settle down. And that is when we started researching what is the problem. So not that students were not educated, the problem was that they were not employable. So they knew the stuff. The problem was coming in time. The problem was being loyal. The problem was being stable in a particular job. And that is where I realized if I go down again, internalize what the problem with the young generation was, we identified they had three important things, three tools or three abilities, which somehow became a difficult thing for them. One, the ability to deep learn, and the ability to relearn, and the ability to de-learn. These were three important things which were missing in students. They were not ready to go into details. So everything was superficial on the top. They could not read the mails, believe you me. Forget about getting into details or documentation. Second, they were not ready to get into relearning certain things. So if I have learned a particular thing like this in college, this is not going to apply here and I have to relearn it in a different format. I need to upgrade, I need to upskill myself. I'm not ready, I've done it and I know it all. Till date, Astha, a lot of students call me and say, ma'am, I have done masters in psychology. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I have done my PhD and my DLit, my PhD and my post-PhD in psychology. but I still don't know P of psychology. And I'm glad I found somebody who's done masters and who knows psychology very well. So again, the fact that I refuse to relearn. And then the third is de-learn. I'm not going to forget what was taught to me. That suddenly, that cemented compartmentalization puts you onto constant shock, and that is where you crack. So if as an entrepreneur, I don't have the three same abilities in me, any benchmarking which is concretized in my head is going to make my journey tough. And as mental health professional, as an entrepreneur, how I survived, and I survived happily, yes, with losses, with the idea that yes, I changed by my benchmarking. I took a detour on reaching where I wanted to reach in 2021. Possibly now I'll reach in 2024. But the fact that I'm happy to do that. Yes, I have lost things, I've lost people, I've lost business, but then I'm living, I'm happy, and I'm going to reach there, if not in 2021, in 2024. Why do I have that anxiety that I have to reach there in 2021? So, and I learned, I'm not a tech savvy person, but I became an Apple professional trainer in this entire zone. I learned technology. I entered into teaching people Apple technology and how you can use for design thinking. I learned disruptive thinking. We give so much of workshops on disruptive thinking and design thinking, but for the first time I applied it to my business. Scatter करके देखते हैं, फिर recreate करेंगे. Psychology services was one initiative that I started 1.5 years ago, but 9 months of pandemic, and I'm so thankful to pandemic for that. I don't know how many people will blame me for saying that, but it gave me a new perspective to look at what I wanted to do within the zone of psychological services. So again, relearn, de-learn, and definitely deep learning is something that I would suggest as a huge mental health tool for entrepreneurs, and 100% design thinking. I am a very, very ardent flag holder of design, and you're an architect, Kanchan, and I think you're going to appreciate the fact that design is what is tomorrow. And if we are able to design things in our life the way to suit the changes and not compartmentalize it in a concretized format, the cracks will not follow. We just need to change the material of our mental gauge, and things are going to be comfortable.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bhavna, because the deep learn, relearn, and de-learn is a great takeaway to take. It actually answers the second question that I was going to ask you, which is that what in these, and maybe you can give us 1 or 2 more lines on this. It's a follow-up question that what in these changed circumstances and very, very unprecedented, unpredictable times that we are facing right now, what can be a changed narrative, for entrepreneurs, for business owners to manage and deal with the unpredictability that lies ahead of us?
I think again, as I said, I'm a very strong flag bearer of design thinking. We need to get into redesigning the way we want to. We need to reboot it again. If I may use that word, we need to again go back to the drawing board again. As I said, as a consultant to corporate, I'm not a very, I may not be a very modern age consultant. I don't give very strong new age solutions. I love to go back to basics and say, all right, let's go to the drawing board again and let's draw things. I'm an old school. That's what I have been taught. And if I would suggest for every entrepreneur, if life is tough and things are changing, let's go back to the drawing board again. Again, Hindi में एक बात बोलूंगी, if you'll appreciate. एक नए मकान को बनाना ज्यादा आसान होता है, एक बने हुए मकान में तोड़फोड़ करना ज्यादा मुश्किल होता है. और ये मैं practically from personal experience I am saying that. और हमारे बुजुर्ग भी कहते हैं कि नया मकान बनाओ, that's easily done rather than पुराने पे तोड़फोड़ करो. जब हमने business शुरू किया था आस्था, हमने एक particular format पे शुरू किया था. There was a particular drawing board on which we draw. But then now, जब वो स्ट्रक्चर, हमारा बेस स्ट्रक्चर चेंज हो गया, मेरे नंबर्स चेंज हो गए, मेरी मार्केट चेंज हो गई, it's so tough for me to do todphod on the same frame and create something new which will look beautiful. So if people who solve cubic square, hypothetically, cognitively speaking, are they intelligent people? It's less of IQ connotation that works in there. It's more of the power of disruption and creating a gear which works better with them. So the courage to disrupt and recreate again on the new norms, on the revised structure, is largely a better solution rather than reworking on the same format. So that is what I'm going to be suggesting, and that is tried and tested by me. What I planned 1 year ago possibly just went here and there, and it was time in June when I went back to the real drawing board, kagas, pencil, with a cup of coffee, and think, all right, so अब यहाँ आ गए भाई, अब इससे कहाँ जाएं? Let's draw it that way. And अब ये रह गया, ये बच गया, तो जो बच गया चलो उससे मकान दोबारा बनाए. That is what something I felt as an entrepreneur can help people.
Wonderfully put, Dr. Bhavna. What you said, scatter and put it back together, is, I think, is what I'm going to sleep with tonight and think about, how can I put it back. Now, very interestingly, this has got a question in my mind, and which I would want to direct to Dr. Roma. So, ma'am, when we're dealing with so much of change, right, and you very importantly pointed out at the beginning that what we look at are triggers outside of us, and we don't really look at the emotions that we may be feeling. So now, when like Dr. Bhavna said, that it's time to reboot and relearn and just disrupt a lot of what is happening. This is bound to impact our emotions, right? This is bound, as an entrepreneur, it is bound to impact how I feel about myself, because so much of my identity comes from my business. So what what according to you can entrepreneurs look out for as signs and symptoms of concern in during this time, and also how can we help ourselves stay strong emotionally?
Thank you, Asta. And Bhavna, you said everything so wonderfully well. So, I completely agree with what Bhavna says, that scatter and put it back together. But I wish it was that simple. It's not simple, and Bhavna and me would agree on that. It's just not simple. When you get affected by something, to find a solution is the toughest thing. And there is no quick fix. So when you did this poll and people said we may not go to a psychologist, or very few people said we'll go to a psychologist, precisely that's the reason. Because it's a very slow process to scatter things, to understand what you've learned from your childhood, what are the areas that have put some problems in your head, and now those problems are erupting. So to get in there, it takes a while, and that's why it's a slow process to understand yourself and to change the way you think, instead of getting people to change. So what, as an entrepreneur, you probably need to look into is that when we face individuals who are going through anxiety, poor body image, grief, loss, depression. Now, depression is in very many forms. Depression is an umbrella term. So under that, there are many kinds of depressive situations that might occur. A major change in your life, such as becoming a new parent, can be very, very troublesome sometimes, because your nights are disrupted, your sleep is disrupted, everything is disrupted. So it affects your mental and emotional health. Now, as an entrepreneur, as a corporate, we need to focus on these areas and the day-to-day living. It's not the bigger events that will create problems, not like somebody who has a chronic ailment and has got cancer and the family's got disrupted. That is one situation. But the smaller aspects in your life can be very, very troublesome, and you're experiencing sadness, you're worrying, and then you get into depression. It's not that I'm depressed. So we people use the term depression as a takya kalam. यार मैं तो बहुत depressed हूँ आज. So let's stop using these medical terms so loosely, and we start, judging others And especially if a person comes, on the screen, and especially nowadays when you're all the time on the screen and you're talking and your cameras need to be on, this is very, very stressful. Who is addressing this? I think none of us. We're looking at many other things, but coming on camera is extremely stressful versus going to work face to face working. So we need to address such kinds of areas. We also need to learn how to, connect with other people, engaging in conversation. Good relationships or relationships as such are important for our mental health. We need to be physically active. Now, because of the pandemic, I think a lot of us have not been very physically active. But then I would always say, who stops us from walking in the house? Who stops us from using a yoga mat in our house? Who stops us from doing static jogging? I don't need to go outside to do all that, but I need to be first focusing. This is important to me. Let's learn some new skills, which a lot of us have learned new skills. I mean, for a person like me, where we were just a group of 5 people who started this company emotionally. On the March 20th, we began this company, although we were talking of, this company for a very long time. And look where we've reached. We've been working with corporates. We've been doing so many other programs for the corporate welfare and understanding individual needs, individual anxieties, and anxieties in very different forms. Let's pay attention to the present moment. And there are these important areas of well-being which are very, very important. Commonly used to describe something, like a state where you are comfortable, where you're healthy. It may include some broader concepts like, are you satisfied? Do you have a sense of purpose? So when an individual comes into my office and says, um, I don't want to discuss where I come from, because a person is coming from a different background where he or she is very well known in the community. He doesn't want to discuss about that. And he's focusing on, I don't want to do that particular work which my forefathers and parents have done. I want to move out and I'm getting very stressed because of this. Now, who will look into these areas? So, as a corporate, as an entrepreneur, we need to focus on what Neera says, that overall health. And these smaller problems that come in daily life, those are more important versus any mental illness that is there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ruma, for that perspective. Overall health is definitely the bigger picture, and also, like dealing with the smaller problems in life and the smaller problems that come our way, and dealing with them is also extremely important. Now, with that, if I may be the voice of some entrepreneurs out there, right now, at the end of the day, I truly feel that entrepreneurship is about being ambitious, and it is overwhelming to be ambitious, right? And I also see a question by Shubhra on the chat, which is that when she feels overwhelmed to be multitasking every day, right? So my question is, like, as an entrepreneur, as an ambitious entrepreneur who's out there, a go-getter to achieve things, it can take a toll on our mental health. We can have burnouts. I'm just opening this question to the panel, whoever would want to respond to this. How do we entrepreneurs who are ambitious entrepreneurs working day and night, burning out, how do we deal with just staying healthy holistically? It's an open question. Whoever would want to answer.
So can I begin?
Sure, please, Dr. Ruma. Why not?
It's perfectly normal to feel overwhelmed. Let's understand, and we are all multitasking at this point. There's no one who's not multitasking, and we are working from home most of the times. So my emotional health is definitely going to be affected if I'm not taking out time for myself, if I'm not creating boundaries for myself, if I'm not creating some limit settings for myself. So I need to address, what is it that is affecting me? Is it that longer hours sitting in front of the computer is affecting me? Is it that my entire family is around in the house and I do not have any privacy? Is that affecting me? What is affecting me is that I cannot speak to a friend of mine because there are so many people around. What is it that is affecting me? So let's prioritize first. Let's find out what is affecting me. Second, am I really taking care of myself? Or am I only focusing on doing the work for wherever I'm working? Am I focusing on myself? So I need to take our time for myself. I need to self-care, and I need to look at things where I want to be happy. I will not surpass this and say, my husband needs to be taken care of, my child needs to be taken care of. There's so much homework there, and I'm not taking care of myself. No, then it's not going to work. I think I'll leave it for others to answer it.
Brilliant. Dr. Neera, what would be your perspective on, like how ambition probably takes a toll on mental health, and what would be your advice to entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so I think somewhere along the way, we all need to recognize, first of all, that the pressures of what we want to get done in a day are always going to be there. The 24 hours in a day will never feel enough. So, just to add to the point Dr. Roma made of self-care, I'd just like to elaborate a little bit on it and say, self-care means what? What am I talking about when I say self-care? Now, if everyone had that awareness to say, okay, these are the 1, 2, 3 things that I want to do and that will take care of me, then I think we are in a good place. We've sorted for everything that we need to. So to me, I think the more important thing is sometimes just being able to help people understand that this is natural. 24 hours a day will not be enough. The additional stresses will work on us. And here is something that you need to do so that you can start connecting better with yourself. Because I think self-care, and I'm sure Dr. Roma and Dr. Bhavna would agree with me here, has to be more than just getting time to ourselves, just about looking after ourselves as a person in terms of, am I looking after my requirements? Am I giving myself time? But also about being able to work on the different dimensions of my existence. So we've talked about it in different ways. Dr. Bhavna's touched about it in her connection with the self. Dr. Roma's touched about it in the connection with emotional health. How do we build that? So I think there needs to be a tool and technique that we need to adopt and just go ahead and work with it so that we can get into a rhythm of being able to create that so-called overall holistic health for ourselves. Because a lot of times, just that ability to recognize that this is what I need to do in itself becomes a hindrance. We are not able to do it. And many times, even when we do it, we are able to recognize it. We are not willing to give ourselves the opportunity to try something out which will work for us for whatever reasons. And my sense is that a lot of times, instead of adopting something that can work for us, we get caught in if I'm going to do this, will I be perceived right? If I'm going to do this, will it appear okay, etc., etc. And there are multiple things. And again, this discussion can go on forever. But then the question to ask ourselves is, where is it coming from? What's working? What is hindering us? So I think we need to be able to sometimes just say, overall health means that I need to balance all my different levels. How is the I in me thinking? How are the emotions in me responding? How am I dealing with my time? What is my mind doing with all the noise that is being created both internally and externally? What can I just go ahead and start doing for myself, which will create more energy in me so that my 24 hours a day become more productive for me, both in terms of what I achieve and also in terms of how I'm going to feel at the end of the day. So to me, I think both those are important.
Excellent. If Dr. Bhavna, could you please also share your perspective? And I would love to see a design thinking perspective that you would be sharing.
So Aditya, this is not design thinking. I don't know. I'm a Kathak dancer, Aditya, and Kathakar, and Katha is something that's a part of me. So I love storytelling. There are certain places in the world where we do not have red lights. And then we have the frequency of accidents are very less. Okay. And we have so many red lights in India. Now, the differences, the very strong differences, that these places where we don't have red lights, the accidents are very less, but the fatality rate is fantastic. But you will not survive. And one accident is going to hurt many people. In India, we have so many red lights, and we have so many people, and we have so many accidents, but the danger rate is very less. Most of them will survive with small injuries here and there, right? I'm not marketing something negative. What I'm trying to say is the only psychologically, the only basic difference that I see and I interpret is that when people drive alone in speed, in empty roads, you are driving, you're all alone by yourself. You have nobody in your mental space. But in India, we are samohik drivers. I drive with the rickshaw wala. ये कैसे turn लेगा? ये आगे वाला scooter वाला अब ये बिना मुड़ जाएगा. You know, it's all there in my head. Auntie चला रही है आगे. You know, she is going to definitely bang. So I'm not driving alone. I'm driving with 20,000 people, or at least 17 people who are around me. So my mental space is interactive, right? Now, if I go back to the question asked, that how is it that entrepreneurs can flame down the achievement and make themselves mentally healthy? The only big thing that entrepreneurs need to do is, it's not about I, me, myself. It's about driving with an interactive mental space. Entrepreneurs have groomed themselves off lately to live in silos. It's me, my business, how, so every conversation. So for example, if there's a cleaner who's coming to my office, I need to know why I'm interacting with him. Why can't you just interact with him and say, badi achhi pant lag rahi hai, kahan se kharidi? Kaun sa shukar bazaar hai, jo futile conversations, futile living, not everything is in. So I'm not against people being crisp and very focused to their achievement prodigy. The idea is about, we are losing out the breathing space. We have suddenly caged ourselves into, this is how will my business survive, my, without understanding I will not survive till the point the other guy will not survive. So the transcendence, the interdependence, the intradependence has become more important rather than interdependence. So I think how entrepreneurs can retain their mental health is by opening that small windows here and there in their big concrete wall, redefine their definition of achievement. But what is my definition of achievement? You will all land up making good properties, believe you me. You will all land up buying big cars. You will land up having good amount of money, which will help you sustain diseases and good education and everything. The idea is, it's about, it may take 5 more years to reach there. So redefining achievement, more of interdependent living, learning the way we enjoying the way we drive in India, right? Appreciating how we drive in these countries without red lights, but also being sorry of the fact that at least we don't lose people here. People get hurt, but they come back. So the idea is about decrease the speed, take a deep breath, kuch nahi kariye. Only young entrepreneurs need to spend 40 minutes of silence in the morning. Ek bada cup coffee ka, whatever brand you like, on your terrace, 40 minutes being still. I'm not saying, so when I talk to young entrepreneurs and they say, even I don't talk to anybody for 1.5 hours. I do my jogging and I'm all alone in the gym. No, the idea is about sitting. The idea is about just being with yourself. The idea is about let all the trashy thoughts come in, and you'll actually realize that with time you're able to control that, what you want to think and how you want to think, and that is when the redesign process starts. So people will say, all right, आज से जैसे 1 बजे session शुरू हुआ, 2 बजे से we'll sit and start redesigning. No, it doesn't happen like that. As Roma ma'am rightly said, it takes time. शरीर है, दिमाग है. जब खराब होने में समय लगा है, तो ठीक होने में भी समय लगेगा. So it's all about giving yourself time. It's all about smiling. It's all about breathing. It's all about walking. It's all about, a lot of people ask me, I find a lot of groundedness in walking. People find it funny. My friends find it funny. How can you be grounded when you walk? I get grounded when I walk. I get grounded when I dance. I get grounded when I listen to Begum Akhtar. Find your groundedness, right? Not that everybody likes this music, so this is my music. So redefine yourself, learn to drive in an Indian scenario, drive with other people around in your mental space, redefine your achievement prodigies, and recreate a new ladder of benchmarking. I think that is the way you can safeguard yourself from all mentally upsetting correlative things that are happening.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Bhavna, for sharing that perspective. As entrepreneurs, we end up being in silos, but we need to redefine the way we are operating. We need to redefine achievement. And we have to understand that we are actually interdependently living with other people.
एक
Yes,
और
ma'am.
चीज, प्लीज मीठा खाइए. From all medical, non-medical, and psychological perspective, don't take away meetha from your life. I think again, a lot of people after eating it have come back and said, "Doctor Saab, it works." But मैं किसी बच्चे को कहूँ ना, थोड़ा सा मीठा खाया कर, थोड़ी चॉकलेट खाया कर दोपहर में, रात को मत खा, मोटा नहीं होगा, but दोपहर में खा, morning में have some मीठा. There's a science behind everything. My dad was an IAS officer and he said, logic is something that leads humankind. Everything कि एक पार्क में फेंस इतने फीट का क्यों होता है, इसके पीछे भी एक साइंस है. The problem is तुमने कभी क्वेश्चन नहीं किया कि जेब्रा क्रॉसिंग ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट क्यों होता है. क्वेश्चन करो तो आंसर मिलेगा. There's a logic why mostly you see our breakfast used to have meetha as a part of it. It makes you happy. So entrepreneurs should eat some meetha. No worries.
Point taken, ma'am. Yesterday night I had some chocolate and today morning I was feeling a little guilty about it. But anyway, so this is the time to open the forum for some questions. And I have with us Mr. Sanjeev Jawahar, who has a question specifically directed to Dr. Bhavna. So Sanjeev, sir, I'm just adding you to Spotlight. Yeah. So please go ahead with your question, and let's keep the response in a couple of minutes because we would like to take questions from other audience members as well.
Thanks, Adi. Sorry for being a bit late to log in. Dr. Bhavna, one particular question straight at you is, you spoke about design thinking and about deep relearning. You spoke of relearning, unlearn, relearn, and deep learn. Now, I am in a paradox. As a business executive, as an entrepreneur, as an owner of a business, for me, it's to get the thing done in the shortest possible time. I'm more into survival mode with marginal innovation and marginal reinvention. Marginal, not deep thinking, And I do feel scared. I mean, maybe we get, like you say, people are, we have guys who say they are not employable. One day this formula may not be workable when it comes to entrepreneurs, but yet that's the only thing that's working as of now. Quick, short-term quick fixes to get the work moving because the supply has to be done by time X. So my query here is pointedly this: deep thinking is now scaring me. Relearning, unlearning is great, but deep learn, how can an entrepreneur do it with a daily grind? By the hour, you have to do some kind of innovative thinking. And it remains shallow, it remains marginal. Your comments, please.
So संजीव जी, मेरा आंसर बड़ा इसमें सिंपल रहेगा. हम लोग अगर देखें, अगर हम academically या हम learning prodigy को देखें, it's not that for every process you need to go into deep. अगर आप 2 processes deep learn करते हैं तो उसके application शायद 100 चीजों में हो सकते हैं which can be marginalized. If you deep learn, then only you have the capacity to know what to hatao, what to keep, how to redesign it. The problem is that even simple, very minimalistic processes, people are not ready to go to the depth of it and learn. जैसे कोई भी process आप ले लीजिए, for example, technology. Let me take a very simple example of technology. If I give you, I may be slightly wrong on the data point here. I don't have the latest data in hand. But then if I only use an iPhone, I am not using my iPhone beyond 3%. The capability of an iPhone is humongous. But as an entrepreneur, if I'm not deep diving and giving 1 day or 2 days to learn how I can use my iPhone, that 5-inch gadget in my hand, for at least 60% of utility to me, I am not. So if I do some deep learning into that process, it helps me cut down so much of unnecessary work as an entrepreneur throughout. But because I want to save time on learning how to use my iPhone, I want to immediately start using it only for those 3 things that I've been doing on the laptop. And I'll be giving you an accurate data on that. And why I'm saying that is that being an Apple trainer, professional trainer, we do have hands-on to that data that a lot of people are doing the same function on their iPad, laptop, and phone. My question is why? Why? Because entrepreneurs have not invested that one day in saying, all right, teach me how can I do 100% of job only on one gadget. Simple. And then 5,000 things in my office get sorted because I'm doing it that way. Now that is what I mean by deep learning. And हमारे बच्चे बहुत सफर कर रहे हैं संजीव जी से, क्योंकि हमारे बच्चों को शॉर्टकट की आदत पड़ गई है, वो ऊपर से काम करते हैं. जैसा मैंने आपको कहा, forget about any child new achievement या new गुर जो उसको आता है. मेरा स्ट्रगल ये है, वो मेल नहीं पढ़ते, वो मेल के डिटेल्स नहीं पढ़ते. How do you survive in a competitive environment without that eye for detailing? That is what I meant. And I think if we do that, we'll be able to do a lot of better qualitative marginalization, which is businessmen's core aptitude.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bhavna, for answering this question. We are a little cognizant of time right now, and I would want to invite Mamta Dhingra for the next question that she has. Mamta, if you could ask the question that you had, and you could also direct the question to a panelist of your choice.
Hi, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for the opportunity, Kanchan and Aditya. So, ma'am, my question is to any of you that being managing the parenting role, now sitting back at home and also trying to balance things as far as my own work and my entrepreneurship endeavor is, it gets, of course, it gets way too overwhelming. And my big issue today is also focus, and regrowing or looking at perhaps my sort of disconnecting from the environment, being more productive, or while also looking at what is that can cut costs. So not only in entrepreneur role, I'm also as a homemaker looking at ways to be cutting costs. So how to really prioritize and how to really find a perfect emotional balance in the middle of I mean, there is a pandemic out there and there is a pandemic out here. So how do I really sort of deal with that sort of crisis?
So may I answer that?
Sure, please, Dr.
Please,
Rubal.
ma'am.
Yeah. So I think you had put it up on the chat also, the same question. पेरेंटिंग तो पहले भी करते थे ना कोविड से, पेरेंटिंग अब भी है, थोड़ा सा नजरिया चेंज हो गया है, थोड़ा ज्यादा समय हम बच्चों के साथ में रहने लग गए हैं. That is why we are feeling that overwhelmed feeling, So we used to go away from the house, but we were still parenting, right? So we just need to change that little area of understanding how do we parent when we are so physically proximity role में है जहां पर बच्चे बहुत नजदीक हैं. सबके लिए कुछ एक boundaries बनानी बहुत जरूरी है. The boundaries which are for you, which are emotional boundaries, physical boundaries, academic boundaries. Now we need to create those boundaries. You always had boundaries for children. I always had parents coming back and saying, my child is way too much on the instrument, on a gadget, and look at all of us now on gadget. But does that mean that I will stop making boundaries? No, I will continue to make limit settings and I will continue to do all of that. So what you need to do is, Mamta, is actually prioritize in your mind. What is it that you're going to do today which will not make you feel overwhelmed? Don't look at what you did day before yesterday or 10 days before and it kept on making you overwhelmed. And don't look at 10 days ahead. Look at it today. Today, what can I do today so that I don't feel overwhelmed? So what Bhavna rightly said, that compartmentalized thinking, no, we don't need to do that. That cemented compartmentalized thinking. We just need to create some time where you are able to deal with all the areas and also your entrepreneurial role and all your deadlines and yet feel content. Now, for everybody, contentment is very different. Happiness is very different. For me, being content is different from you being content. So what is it that you are going to deal with it? You need to take a journal and write down that for yourself, and then focus on those areas. I hope I've been able to answer to some bit.
Thank you, ma'am.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Roma. Next up, I would like to invite Sankalp, who has a question. Sankalp, I'm just bringing you to spotlight. And feel free to point your question towards the specific panelist.
Thank you, Aditya. So, like nowadays, instant gratification has become a need of the minute, I think, not a need of the hour, right? If you go for dinner with friends, the first thing they're doing is taking a picture of the food that's served to you, put it on Instagram, putting hashtags, and then they're very busy seeing how many people have liked and who's commented what, right? And I think this is affecting a lot of people across age groups. For kids, it could be how many fans like the photographs, or for adults, it's how many people liked their quote of the week or quote of the day or whatever they shared on Instagram or Facebook. So how badly is this instant gratification affecting us in a mental state as entrepreneurs? And also, because it's proven, right? Like Facebook and Instagram are using tons of research and data and have psychologists on their payroll to actually build tools around these things to keep us more hooked. So how important is it also for us to disconnect from these apps on a daily basis? So, and Dr. Roma or Dr. Bhavna or Dr. Neera as well, you can give your views, all of you, in a minute. That'd be great to have 3 different perspectives.
So, I mean, we are running short in time, so I would just request our esteemed panelists to please be precise and crisp.
In just a minute, I will give you that, instant gratification was always there, but that frequency, the intensity changed now. We were happier getting a letter from the postman, waited for that postman, versus the email that is coming to us right now, and I need to answer it right away. Right? It's affecting us hugely. It's up to me how much I want to attach that importance to the likes, to the pictures, to the to all the content that is coming. So it's up to me, and I leave it for Bhavna and Neera to answer now.
Thank you, Roma ma'am, and I'll pick from what Roma ma'am said. I think she so beautifully said that it's about you. It's about you choosing. So who's asking you? It's been almost around 1.5 hours. I've not picked my phone. You've made a choice. So you make a choice of wanting to click a photograph. You make a choice of going to so the applications are not wrong. Again, don't blame the environment. The applications, but the poor Facebook guys, they're not bad. So the idea is about you. The idea is about having control in you. And again, that entire thing, धीरे धीरे रेमना, धीरे सब कुछ होए. कुछ मत करिए, धीरे चलना शुरू करिए. सिर्फ जिंदगी में अपने आप ठहराव आ जाएगा. That's the only thing. It's just that undue speed, and nobody is realizing कि कौन कह रहा है तेज चलने के लिए भाई. Who said? It's more like a crowd psyche. कि किसी ने कहा तेज चलो, सब तेज चल रहे हैं. Nobody is standing and asking क्यों चले तेज भाई. धीरे चल सकते हैं. So you need to just stand and say, क्यों चलूं तेज, नहीं चलना. So organic, if organic sells, make yourself more organic, slow, and automatically the speed will go away.
Thank you, ma'am. Very well said. Thank you so much. Dr. Neera?
Yeah, I think Dr. Bhavna just said it exactly the way I would have liked to say it. So thank you, Dr. Bhavna. I think, one of the discoveries today is you seem to be voicing exactly the thought that goes in the mind. So I think that's been wonderful. Yeah, so just one question I would like to add is instant gratification. The point to ponder over is, where is it coming from? And I think if we do a little bit of soul searching, we'll realize that it's coming from the lack of connection to the self and the constant connection in the outer world for self-validation. So the point that Dr. Bhavna just made, go slow, make those choices. Those choices are in our control. Who's asking us to make different choices? So why is it that we are constantly getting caught in the external world for validation for everything? Is the question I think that we should all be able to ask ourselves. The answers will come.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much for the answers. And poor Facebook guys, man, they're just trying to build a business. I mean, I would remember this for the rest of my life, for sure.
Andy, this is your business also, right? So
Great. Okay. Now with that, before we have our closing statements, Kanchan, I would invite you to quickly share a poll question with the audience. So the question is, has the session been able to clear some myths with respect to stigmatization concerning mental health and wellness, specifically from an entrepreneur's perspective? Wow. So 70% of the audience has already voted, and in interest of time, I'm going to end the poll right now. So 14 out of 18 people said yes, and 4 out of 18 said to some extent, and 0 out of 18 said no. So I'm really glad that as Reciprocity, we are able to give value to entrepreneurs, specifically in the area of mental health, which is extremely, extremely crucial and important in today's age and date. Now, with that, I would want to invite all the esteemed panelists to share their closing statements and closing thoughts very briefly, starting with Dr. Neera. So, Dr. Neera, I am inviting you to share your closing thoughts and statement before we end the meeting. You're on mute, Dr. Neera.
So first of all, I'd like to call out to Dr. Bhavna and Dr. Roma. It's been wonderful to be a part of this discussion with you both. Some beautiful points coming out there, and a lot of it resonated. For me, it's been more personal experience in the capacity of which I have been able to contribute today. And therefore, just going back to what we've started to talk about today and where we are at, my only point that I would like to make before we leave is really about us being in a world where more and more we need to be able to recognize what is the relevance of overall health. And I'm deliberately calling it overall health because I think we need to function successfully, and for that we need to be able to achieve that sense of balance at the various levels at which we exist: the mental, the emotional, even my ego state, my I, so that we are completely in tune with ourselves. And I think that's something we are missing out on, and there is a need for us to be able to identify that. So I would leave us with just 3 words to take away, to say recognize that, recognize what it means to be healthy overall, and then choose the right things that we need to do, choose the right action. Some of the beautiful points that have come out in the discussion today: just slowing down, just being able to take things as they are, just being able to connect with the self and be still, and act so that we can take a responsible choice of ensuring that we can achieve that personal overall health, which is so essential for us, both from our own personal self-care and health perspective, so that we are successful in the relationships we nurture, as well as in the way we interact with others. So being able to successfully interact both with the self and with others, because if we are not able to achieve that sense of balance as entrepreneurs or as any other role we play in society, I think we get restricted. So I'd say recognize, choose, and act. Choose what action works for you.
Recognize, choose, and act. Very succinctly put, Dr. Neera. Thank you so much. Dr. Roma, I invite you to share your closing remarks as well.
I'd just like to say a few things and not too much, that let's just focus on our ordinary strengths and virtues, and let's not look at what everybody else has. If we understand the basic of our own emotion, our own positive emotion, I'll be able to take care of my mood, my outlook, and I will also feel good about myself. Focus on yourself, focus on changing your own thinking, and focus on not getting very overwhelmed by emotions such as fear, anger, love, jealousy, guilt, or anxiety. And if something like this is there, do not hesitate to go meet up a psychologist. Psychologists really help in understanding and giving you tools how to deal with your behaviors. And thank you so much for getting me here today. It's been wonderful chatting with all of you, with all the panelists. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Roma. Focus on yourself. It's okay to be overwhelmed, but you know, like if you focus on yourself, then probably things will step into the right direction. With that, last but not the least, I'm going to invite Dr. Bhavna to share her closing remarks as well.
I would just go with that one particular thing on requesting everybody, be it an entrepreneur, young, old, students, housewives, homemakers, entrepreneurs. Let's decomplicate. Let's go back to basics. Let's stop. Let's breathe. Let's rethink. There is no speed. Let's redesign. That's the only thing which is required. It's again very important to go back inside. The moment you start thinking about, the moment you give time to yourself, you'll understand a lot of it that we do in life is because other people want us to do it. Because somewhere we have allowed them, it's not their fault. Not that other people are influencing. Nobody can influence you till the point you are ready to be influenced. It's not about them, it's about you, and it's about the moment you know what is there on the platter, you make your choices right. The fact is, we are so much in a rush that we really don't know what all is available for us for the choice. And we pick and choose everything that everybody is picking and choosing without questioning. So I think being still is what my game is. And again, a very humble request to everybody, go back to basics. Go back to the basic drawing board. जब कुछ समझ नहीं आता है तो एक गरम गरम चाय, और अगेन गोइंग बैक टू द प्रॉब्लम, हमको बचपन से सिखाया जाता है जब मैथ्स नहीं आता था दोबारा सवाल करो. मेरे फादर कहते थे प्रॉब्लम नहीं समझे, रीड इट अगेन. Meera ma'am is in doctorate in English, and she'll understand that a lot of times when we don't understand something, when we read it, what is the first logic we do? Go back and read it again. रामायण में कहा गया है कि solution problem में है. If people can read the problem well, you will find the solution in the problem. So go back to basics again, go back to problem again, and that will solve you all the problems. Thank you. And again, thank you, Kanchan. Thank you, the panel. Thank you, everybody. It was a lovely experience being here. Wonderfully spent 1.5 hours. Thoroughly enjoyed.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, ma'am. Go back inside, go back to the basics. And जब कुछ समझ में ना आए तो एक गरम चाय का प्याला या कॉफी हो जाए साथ में. With that, and meetha, without feeling guilty. So, Kanchan, I would like to invite you to share a vote of thanks to our esteemed panelists and close the conversation today. Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Roma, Dr. Bhavna, and Dr. Neera. I've really enjoyed myself for this last 1.5 hours. And I must say that my takeaways from here are scatter and recreate, deep learn, relearn, and de-learn, being honest about our stress and our burnout, our anxiety, our depression, and whatever the emotion is, looking deep down within is the key. It's human, and it's human to care for first ourselves and then the people around and someone else's current situation. Self-care, I don't think we can speak more about it. And most importantly, Dr. Bhavna, I'm proud to be an Indian driver. I can say that proudly now. So thank you everyone for participating in this Reciprocity Alchemy and being such a participative and attentive audience. Our panelists have really kept us very engaged, and deep gratitude to each one of you for sharing such valuable and informative insights with us. For our audience, should you be keen to know more about Reciprocity, we would be glad to extend an invite to you to attend one of our meetings. Please drop in your name and email ID in the chat box. Thank you once again. The recording of this session will be available on the YouTube channel, and I request everybody to please go out on YouTube and like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much once again for this fabulous session. Thank you.